So can we start?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, nice. Okay, I'm Stefan, heading from Germany, and I want to talk about using Wikidata and how we do it on Wikivoyage and what problems we have from time to time. So it's a little bit similar to the presentation I held in Singapore. And first I should share my screen. So can you see it? I hope so.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, looks good. Thanks.
Okay, it looks quite small on my screen, but if you can see it, it's okay. Yeah, since we started the Wikivoyage project, we were really anxiously waiting for a database that we can use. So we were very happy when Wikidata starts. And firstly, I want to make an impression how intensively we use Wikidata. We have some statistic figures. This is the article of Vienna and how many Wikidata accesses we have. Sometimes in one article, 350 accesses, and we use up to 136 different properties in our articles. It's quite a lot, I think. And this is just the statistic numbers of one single articles. I think the Vienna article is the one that uses really heavily Wikidata information. And maybe to give you a more visual impression, it's quite small, but here you can see an article about a little town in Poland, and all the highlighted red areas are completely information from Wikidata. So even in our article text, there are a lot of values that are fetched from Wikidata properties. And we implemented some modules. I decided to make a module per, not only one module per data type. So I created some modules, especially for strings, as we can see here right now. One of the challenges on these strings are that are in different articles. Oh, I should go back. Some information are typed in different ways. Here you can see the little postal code of two places. You can see Sabah. Some people type it in like 88,000 to 91,000, or in some other towns you have multiple values. And if you want to use a postal code in your info box, like on the right side, you can see you get a long list. In some towns, and some other towns have a short list. So that's one the challenges we face in this case. So I created a module for getting strings, and this module is able to create a range. If you have more than 3 values, then the function determines the lowest and the highest value, and in your info box you can see a range instead of all these single numbers. And the next problem we sometimes have when we want to have information about numbers, the problem can be that we need the point of time, maybe when you have population numbers, and sometimes we need a unit for areas or altitudes. And if you have articles about cities in US, you have sometimes miles and feet, and in German articles you have the meters. So the problem is we need conversion. So I implemented a module called getNumber, and this module even is able to make a conversion from one unit to another, even if there is not the given unit available on Wikidata. And even to have just a single item, if you need a capital of a country, it can happen that there are more than one capitals. So our module called getItem is able to fetch also the type of capital, in this case, if you want to fetch a capital. And the module is able to create links to other projects in Wikimedia world. So we have a priority list. If you can't get the link on your own website on German Wiki Voyage, the second priority is a link to German Wikipedia. And even if you cannot find an article in the German Wikipedia, you get a link to a local Wikipedia. It depends what the city or the objects you talk about is situated. So this module is able to find out the country where it belongs to, and then you get the local language Wikipedia of that country. And we have implemented a module to fetch images from Wikidata. So if you need in info boxes flags or logos or coat of arms or seals, you can just have a parameter in your info box. Oh, sorry. So you give just a code to the parameter. C and F means a coat of arms and a flag. And then all these images are displayed. There's one more feature for getting images is are related to the position maps. So we have a kind of priority list for different designs or different collections of position maps. So with a change of this single entry in the module, we can change the outfit on the design of all country articles on our wiki. So if the community decides not to have the green maps and want to change to the red maps, then we just change the priority list of this module, and then all images are changed in all articles. And additionally, we can include image maps to our info boxes of special regions. And the biggest challenge was a module to find out the province of a given place on Wikivoyage. So we have to determine the province or the first level region of every country. In Germany, there are states. In other countries, they are called provinces or prefectures. So the module is able to go up on Wikidata to find out to any place the region. And this feature uses this priority 131. And some months ago or some years ago, there came a new property, next level in hierarchy. This was quite a big challenge to use this property as well to find out the first level hierarchy or the first level region of every country. Besides, every article on Wikivoyage is categorized. When this module fails to find out the first level province, so you have maintenance categories. If the search for province ends at the country or runs in circles, it can happen if the values on Wikidata are not correct. And so you have maintenance categories, and you can fix the Wikidata entries for these categories. And we have some special modules that can fetch special values like official websites. So this official website module has a priority list as well. So if you place the official website of an object in a Wikivoyage article, so you get first the website in the language of the local language of the wiki, or if you cannot find it, so you get the English website, and if you cannot find that in the local language, depending on the country that the article is situated. So if you write an article about a little village in Thailand, it tries, if you cannot find the German or the English website, the Thai website in that case. And the most, I think, usable feature is we compare values with Wikidata. So we give the contributors on Wikivoyage a chance to compare their local values with the Wikidata value. If you have an info box, in most articles on Wikivoyage, we still have local values. So we have a normal info box, and there is a population parameter, and people typed in a value. And the new info boxes compare the local data with Wikidata, and you get special tags and attributes in HTML code. So you can color your values. You can see it's red, so that means the local value is different to Wikidata. And if it's green, you can see that the local value is the same as on Wikidata, so you can just delete it from your info box. So that in future, only the Wikidata value is used. And if you have some programmers who are good with JavaScript, you can just develop some features to make it more easy for contributors to edit Wikidata, maybe from the wiki, or change all the values in your own articles. So every comparison that is made here in the info box shows a tooltip and added some CSS classes to your HTML, so you can color your values, and there are some data attributes in the HTML code. So some external programs can just look at every single entry of that info box and can create maybe a little dialogue to delete values from here, or just add it directly to Wikidata if you want. So the most powerful module that we have is the Wikart. So this module is able to make an entry about museums, restaurants, or whatever place, or temples in towns. And this module shows you everything that is, all values that are available on Wikidata, up to prices, opening hours, features, free Wi-Fi or not. If you type it in on Wikidata, and meanwhile it's possible, everything is fetched from over there. So you need just the description text to museum, and all information comes from Wikidata. And as a nice gimmick, as a nice feature, even if you have a Wikivoyage article on your mobile phone, you can press an info button, and depending in what article your place is situated, you can get some nice info boxes, as you can see on the right side. So even if you're traveling to Thailand and go to a Thai museum, you can just press this button, and in local language, you can show it to the taxi driver. Please take me to this place, even in local language. And all the information comes from Wikidata. Yeah, but this was quite a long process to develop all these modules. So we faced some challenges and still have some wishes, of course. And challenges that we faced in the past were changing properties, especially if you take a look at OSM. So you have just to maintain your modules and always have to have an eye on the properties and how they look like and how they are used on Wikidata. As you can see in OSM, firstly, there were only OSM relations. Later on, there were entities, but you have to use a prefix to the OSM ID. And later on, we have different entities for ways and nodes. So the data model is changing, and you have, sometimes it can happen that you modules or your articles throw errors and you look around, oh, what's happened? And then you have to take a look at Wikidata, oh, what happened on Wikidata, or the data model may have changed, or sometimes are just with wrong values, but sometimes even the data model changed. The next problem is sometimes, you will see it on the next page, start and end date and the ranking. So the ranking that we have right now is not really usable. Actually, in our case, what we call preferred is actually the newest value, not the value that it's called preferred or tagged as preferred. Normal ranks are actually old values, and deprecated is values that are no longer used. And that's also a problem if we fetch data from Wikidata. What to do if a value has the rank preferred but has a qualifier end date? Actually, I would say it's we cannot use it. It's nil. We at the moment we interpret it as nil. But that's even the problem with our Lua functions, that we have the wish to have more powerful Lua functions to use Wikidata information. The best way would be a get newest value, not a get best value. But that's the problem what we always have. We can have a good rank, but actually there is an end date. So at the end, we have no value. And it can happen, we had the same problem several times with population numbers, that somebody on Wikidata just didn't use the preferred rank, and we have a long list of values. Actually, to have a Lua function that just delivers the newest value would be more easier to use than to get best value. And some colleagues of mine...
sorry to interrupt, Stefan. We're kind of coming out time, so do you mind just running through the last couple a bit far, and then we can kind of give some time to Jarekt as well. No problem. Take your time.
I think it's the last one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And some colleagues of mine complained or said that it would be good to get the last edit date on Lua. It's available via API, but we don't get this information via Lua. And maybe it would be useful to have Lua functions with a built-in conversion, because this makes a lot of effort on the wiki side. Yeah, this is the last page. We still need a lot of information like calling codes, ISO codes that we need in every module. And it's bad for performance to fetch all the information all the time via Lua from all Wikidata. So it would be useful to have a feature or something like that to fetch a list of properties once and place it in WikiVoyage as one module. So it's easier to access just to a local module and to a table instead of using Wikidata on and on and on. This is really a feature we really need. Okay, and this was the last page. And this is what's about our features and what we have done on WikiVoyage with Wikidata. Thank you, and greetings from Germany.
Thank you so much. That was really great presentation.
Thanks.
Really appreciate that. And if you have a link to the slides, that would be great. Just send it in the chat.
Okay, I will upload it on Commons and then I will give you the
Amazing.
link, of course. Yes,
Thank
I will
you.
do it. Yes,
But
of
without
course.
further ado, let's go to Jarek.
Yeah.
Okay, hello. I will actually address your last wish in one of my slides because we ran into the same issue and found this one solution.
Ah.
So might be something that would be useful. But let me figure out how to share slides first. So.
Just a tip for slide sharing. If you happen to share directly from Google Slide, make sure to pick the sharing the window and not the tab, because otherwise we're having the issue of like the slides being displayed very small, like what just happened.
Okay. It seemed like when I'm trying. Okay, so window. Oh, I see. I see. So does that work? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna be talking about some of the challenges we found on accessing Wikidata and the Commons version of structured data on Commons is like a kind of Wikidata-like structure that is associated just used on Commons, and we are accessing both of those. Okay. So, kind of introduction. My name is Jarek Tuszyński. Username Jarek T. Been Wikipedia 17 years. Admin on Commons for 14. I seem to be writing a lot of Lua modules that are like the most transcluded uh, on Commons. So at some point, I wrote the module information that implements the information templates, 83 million pages. And that one has an option of either using, and I guess most of the info boxes, they have pages of either using like traditional uh, fields of a template, like it was before the times of structured data, or if it's empty, then fetch it from either Wikidata or structured data. There is module coordinates, which kind of can fetch coordinates either from structured data on Commons if it's used on in the file page, or Wikidata if it's used on in the category. And then we have a whole bunch of info boxes that fetch data from Wikidata. Also can talk a little bit about template Wikidata info box used on about like a 5 million pages, category pages, that was maintained by Mike Peel, who was originally scheduled for this slot. So here's an example of an artwork. So that is each time you see a little pencil next to a field, that means that it came from Wikidata. And if you click on that pencil, it will fetch you directly to where it's stored. So if something is wrong, you can directly go and fix it. So the left side is the 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 artist and collection info boxes are in a usual compressed version, or you can expand them, and you see on the right side the expanded version. So a lot of data that you see displayed, is being fetched from Wikidata, and this one is a pretty old. So some of them is stored locally, still as fields of a template, but with a uh, newer artworks, or newly done, less known artists or institutions. Uh, Sometimes 100% of information comes from Wikidata. So how do we know which Wikidata page to fetch? So how do you connect to Wikidata? So files on Commons or articles on Wikipedia have a very nice one-to-one association with either structured data on Commons or Wikidata item. So that's like the best way one can connect. Uh, Unfortunately, that does not apply to files that need stuff from Wikidata or categories for that matter. So category pages can look up Wikidata item, but that item might connect you directly to the that connection might directly link to the item you want, or it might go to a category item and then you have to redirect through the category main topic to the item you're actually that's actually going to be storing the information. It's because let's say you have a item for Paris and then there is a separate item for category related to Paris. So let's say if you have a category for Paris on Commons, it's usually connected to the category item, not the main item. But if you have some tiny little category for some, I don't know, little village somewhere, uh, someone might have skipped the category item because there is nobody else have a category for it. And you might just connect directly to the proper item. So now there is this, like, you have the code have to figure out which link to how to connect to it. And with files, connecting to Wikidata is even more messy. So module artwork is dealing with that. So the easiest is just templates have a field Wikidata, and that that works. Although sometimes those links, Wikidata items change sometimes when people are start merging them. So kind of a kind of lit link rot becomes a problem because it's really pretty hard to keep them updated. Um, and then another way that we connect is that a property digital representation of 6243 was originally proposed to just create this kind of connection, but when it was approved, it was only approved for 2D works. So then leaving sculptures, books, movies, and other things that kind of unclear how to connect those files to Wikidata. So we try sometimes to use main subject, but people often, so the main subject would be a file would have a, I don't know, a file for a sculpture might have a main subject linking to the page uh, item related to that sculpture. But, that main subject might end up linking to the page of the subject of the sculpture, not the sculpture itself. So that often creates kind of it's easy, also kind of hard to link, and sometimes uh, kind of end up with bad results. So that was one of the challenges. Some other examples of challenges we run into. Um, Created templates, from times way before there were any Wikidata or anything. Uh, Always have it translated to whatever language you're looking at. Phrases like, I don't know, Polish poet and writer, or Italian sculptor and medalist, or things like that. Little descriptions of the person. Unfortunately, Wikidata, it was proposed 3 times to create nationality property, but all 3 times they were rejected, and that by different people. I was one of them, but the other 2 were by different people. Um, and Mostly that information is stored as text in the item description, which is unusable. And sometimes you can figure it out, let's say, with a based on ethnic group or country of citizenship, but often not. So, for example, I looked up Barack Obama. So ethnic group is African American, And country of citizenship is US and Kenya. And he have more than 10 occupations. So kind of a automatically generated string ended up with an American, Kenyan politician, lawyer, and so on, which kind of a, we're hoping for American president. Um, uh, Kind of a little short description. So um, it lack of nationality property is kind of a unsolved problem for that template. A different types of example. So this one mostly related to structured data on commons. So how people model author of a file, which is then used in a, by module information and information template. So there is just a gazillion different options. So if it's a uh, photograph taken by a person with Wikidata item, it's a simple link. Photographs taken by commons user, then creator goes to have this some value, unnamed value, and then you have a qualifier that username points to a username. Photograph taken by some external user might end up with a um, creator again to a some value. We don't have an item for it, and then use URL qualifier to link to the person and have a auto name string to a name. Uh, for example, if we have of a 2D artworks, so if we have a artwork with data, Wikidata item, then we use digital representation to link to the artwork item, and then that artwork item have a creator, which gets us to the person item, or uh, or some what do I have here? So a link to a person item that has then a person item might have also qualifier stating uh, his role as a painter. And we might have a sometimes very hard to model data. I mean, the source says that the author of the file is John Smith, or 16th century Flemish painter. And then it's like how do we model that? Like I don't think we try to model it at this point. But it's just that leaves a data from a source uh, kind of uh, we cannot represent it. And John Smith, because there is over 500 John Smiths on the Wikidata, so if you don't know which one of those 500, you might be out of luck. Um, then we might have a case of, for example, if it's a lithograph of a painting, then you use object roles to specify roles, and then photographs of artworks, and so just the complexity is just mind-boggling. So some of the modular information is trying to deal with some of those issues. Some of them more successfully than others. So data is well modeled, but it's just ended up with model being so complex that the code becomes really complicated. Another mind-boggling, sometimes complexities with the copyrights. So copyrights often may differ by jurisdiction. US might have things can be public domain in US and copyrighted in Europe, or vice versa. We also might have a multiple item authors. So I have here example of some a example we have on some page on Wikidata for modeling copyrights for Annie Frank's diaries. So it's a public domain somewhere, and if you assume that it's Annie Frank who is author, or it's still copyrighted in US, but some people have made a disputed claim that Annie Frank is not the only author, and her dad is also co-author. and um, and then it will be still copyrighted in Europe as well. So if you try to model all those complexities, it just kind of becomes pretty pretty complicated. And another issue we run into is that in Wikidata we have this kind of a concept of a bundle of so you have a one bundle for each co-author and jurisdiction, uh, which kind of nicely kind of it works nicely in a really complicated cases. But 99% of files on Commons, they just have a really simple like a I am the author and I release it under some license. So then it's mostly done without use of qualifiers and just simple properties. But then if you have it in one format, then suddenly your software have to deal with two formats, and it's kind of messy to switch like a if you start with a simple format but then you decide that you need a or more complex format, then there is a much more changes that need to be done. So a little bit challenge for maintaining some of those uh, other kind of things that can get messy that we deal with. So dates, we can model complex dates like I don't know 19th century, spring of 99, before some date, you know 11 or 12 of May 1910. Uh, all that stuff can be modeled nicely. It's parsed by, we have a module for it, a Wikidata date, and internationalization is done by complex date. Um, so most of that complexity is handled by qualifiers. But suddenly a challenge becomes if a date is in a qualifier already. So for example, I don't know, something related to a significant event might have a point in time qualifier to it, but it's a kind of one of those fuzzy dates. So we don't have a exact date, but we only know that it's happened, something that we usually need a qualifier to address. So then modeling of it becomes hard because you don't have two layers of qualifiers. So kind of almost software limitation at that point. Provenance is provenance is a or history of the artwork is also sometimes a challenge. So we have a bunch of properties like owned by, significant events, collection, um, and so things we can model easily: current ownership, auction sales. But things like that is hard to model is previously in a collection of someone, or in the years
Uh,
from somewhere to somewhere, permanent loan from someone to some institution. Is there a question?
Sorry to interrupt, Jarek. We are kind of coming towards the end of your time. Is there anything else you wanted to cover for the next couple of minutes?
Let's see. Let me look at my slides. It was only have a few slides, but apparently, let me see if what else do I have here. Uh, okay, I have a slide about how many items to access. So maybe I'll jump to my. So let me jump to something that I was saying earlier that I will cover, and then the last slide I will probably leave for some other day. Uh, so in the Wikivoyage session, there was a problem of a need to sometimes use large. So okay, our authority control often has that info box would have to access quite a lot of uh, items to fully populate all the information. A lot of those items, they don't change very much over time. So we figure out a way of caching some of the data. So the way we do it is that we have a little template that generates a Lua code based on identifiers. And that Lua code is a table of kind of cached values. And if you purge that page and then copy result into some other module, then it becomes official source code. And then module authority control can use that that source code by just importing it as into it. And that's how we avoid accessing, like in this example here in a page, we will probably have to know how to create links based on the values. We would have to access, each one of those properties. Um, so that's an example. And I guess we don't have time, but if someone wants to talk to me about creating auto-generating tables for Wikipedia articles, I have a slide about it, and would be happy to talk about it as well.
Thank you so much. Maybe we can start opening up to some questions. If anybody has, that's a few in the chat. If you want to, we can get started there. And if anybody wants to raise their hand or ask any questions to Stefan or Jarekt, that would be great. I'm just going to go through. There was one question in from Tuka about for you, Stefan, about why the official language. How is the official language chosen if a place is bilingual? If a location or country is bilingual?
Yeah, that's good. I have to admit, I never thought about that. I answered in the chat already. So currently, it's the first one that's delivered. So from Wikidata. So we use the first one that's delivered from Wikidata. When I find out the official language, so I put it on my list already to improve this module. And we could deliver two websites or two information in both languages. That's a good point. I have to admit I didn't thought about that. So it came up to my mind right now, and I put it on my list.
That's why we're here. Jared. Go ahead. Jared? Oh, someone's got their hand up, or maybe I am missing that. So Jan also has a question here. How much of the complex issues are unusual corner cases? I believe this is for you, Jarek. Does 80% of the files have regular enough data so it's only fairly easy, or is it even 90 or 95%?
Okay, so for example, copyrights on Wikidata. The way we model copyrights on Wikidata is mostly follows the pretty complex thing. So, if you state that this is the copyrights, you need to provide which jurisdiction you're talking about, and so that there could be many jurisdictions. So that will be on, like, almost all of it is pretty complex. Complexity of the dates. I don't know. There is a, depending on which time period you're working with. When I was working lately, helping with some Polish writer from 19th century, a lot of dates of his paintings are known to a date. When I was working with Albrecht Dürer works at some point, we know only like a kind of have a fuzzy idea of which decade it is, or before that or after that. So much higher percentage is kind of fuzzy complexity of the dates, which kind of results with a much more complex representation of the data.
Thank
Does
you.
that answer?
Yeah, I think it gives us a pretty good idea. There was another question for you, Stefan, from Sandra, asking about what are your thoughts, if any, on why Wikivoyage uses Wikidata much more actively than other big Wikipedias, and what do you like using about Wikidata?
I think the most, to me, obvious reason is because we are quite a small community, and we don't have many contributors. So for us, it's the best way to get more information and the information better maintained. I think that's the main point. So we are a small community in each language version, and the big advantage of Wikidata is that if you change an information, it's visible in all language versions. I think it's the most reason it's the small community and the easy way to spread out information and maintain information with the help of a bigger community. So that's the reason why we are used to it. And the second reason may be because of we are a smaller community, so we don't have that much discussion. We just use it. We just do it and don't talk that much. Some contributors don't think about technical things, so they say, okay, you can do it. Write a module, and I'm happy when it works. So yeah, it can be an advantage.
Amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Always nice to hear that all the work's going and is helpful. Jared or Jasha have their hands up. Would you like to talk through one of your questions? I think Jared just wrote it in the chat. Could you both walk us through an example that we could follow along on our user pages on Wikivoyage or Commons of importing module data box and module artwork? That would be a hello world. That would help each of us get started. Thanks.
This is Jackie Shea. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you.
I actually have a workflow question with regards to comments and the structured data in comments. So if we, yes? Okay. So if we were to find a Wikidata item to link up in comments, at this time, I know that the template is in place for us to make use of. Now, I'm wondering if it is impossible, if there will be tools, or there's already tools available when we have identified Wikidata item, we just provide the item in this field called depicts, and then the information readily available in Wikidata will be then pulled into comments without having to manually manufacture the data, making the linking using the template. That's one question.
Okay, so if you have a new file, for example, if you upload a file on Wikidata, I mean on Commons, and you already have a Wikidata item for it, then that file can only need two pieces of information: which item to get my data from, and the source of the file itself. So where did you get the file? It's kind of that is stored locally, but otherwise all the information can come from Wikidata, and there is no need to type it anything else in on Commons.
So the reason for this question was we came across, we were working through hundreds of images that were uploaded into Commons, and before that we didn't know that Wikidata has actually already had item that describe the actual painting from our museum. And so when images, basically a digital surrogate of the painting was uploaded, somebody uploaded. And so we accidentally came across, and I thought, oh, okay, could we then simply just plug in that Wikidata item number in the Commons page, and then would it then magically pull in all the information that already describing the actual painting?
Yes.
Then into wiki into comments, but we didn't see it happen. We just saw only a few fields get pulled in. So that was one of the things, is what steps do we need to do in order to ensure the elements.
So how about this? Like I will be happy to work with you,
Cool. All right.
on this afterwards, and
Okay,
we
sure.
can free the time for
For other questions,
other questions if there are
the
any.
other
But I'll be
question,
happy to help out.
yes, and the other question I have is the language code and the script code. The data originating from Wikipedia. So if the Wikipedia language and script codes are not in place, we are not able to use them for comments.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
So for example, there is a photograph with inscriptions. And
Yeah.
the photographs came out of a book insert that was published in 1787. And so we want to provide the inscription, which is in Latin script. But when you try to read it, it sounds like Chinese. But but it is not Chinese, because when you try to enter ZH, it will shoot you the label in Chinese character, means Chinese character. But it is not Chinese character. It is Roman. It's a Latin script. But when you try to use the Latin script code, it's not acceptable. And then when you try to use ZHL, capital L, ATN, it assumes pinyin, but it's not pinyin, because pinyin did not come about until 1955. The book
So
was
I run into a problem like that sometimes, and that was caused by some kind of a Java tools I have installed through like my preferences. So something was dealing with like something related to Latin language, that was some shortcuts for Latin. It was some kind of
not within the software installation with Media Commons, that the only specific suite of language code you can use.
I don't think so. But again, I'll be happy to look at the specific example.
Okay. Yes,
and
I will.
debug
I will contact you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think we've come to the end of our time. Thank you. If there's anybody else that has any questions, you can contact Stefan and Jarekt. You have both. You have both of their contacts. You have their usernames. You can know how to find them. And I think we have 5 minutes, and then we have some games. I think that's the next thing that's on the cards. Is that right?
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.